Welcome to Portland Industry Insider. My name is Michael Verity and I am your host. My guest for this episode is a well-known figure in the Portland acting industry, not only as an actor, but as a writer, a director, an award winner, and an educator. He is one of the best known and most highly respected acting coaches here in Portland. It's a pleasure to meet for the first time, and welcome to the program, Shelly Lipkin.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you here.
Nice intro.
As is often the case these days, we've known each other for quite some time.
Yeah.
If through email, and I've recommended your work, and you've recommended my work, but this is the first time we've ever gotten to meet.
I know,
So
it's a pleasure, it really
it's
is.
nice to have you here.
Yeah.
So I want to jump right in with this question. Do you remember the time and the place when you decided, I'm going to be an actor?
Oh yeah, vividly.
Tell me about it.
I was going to college in a little junior college in Marin County,
Okay.
College of Marin, and it had a lot of really well-known actors that you'd recognize working there. Robin Williams,
Really?
who was one of my
I've heard of him.
good buddies.
Is that
back
right?
then? Yeah, we did a lot of shows together there.
Yeah?
And my girlfriend at the time and I had just gotten cast as a whim. She said, hey, there's this poster. They're going to be auditioning for Midsummer Night's Dream. I'm going to audition for that. And I thought, well, if you're going to audition for that, I'm going to audition for that.
Okay, gotcha.
And so I auditioned, got in, and it hit the first laugh I got on stage.
There it is.
This is highly addicting. And I remember driving with her just over the overpass on 101. And I leaned over and said, I think I'm going to do this professionally. And she said, are you freaking crazy? And I thought, yeah, I guess I am, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there was the feel.
Yeah.
I'm not,
Totally.
I am by no means a Shakespeare expert, but Midsummer is just one of the most beautiful
it's the
things
best.
ever.
It's
What was
best.
the role? What was the role that you
I was playing flute
No kidding.
and Thisbe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
My son did, my son's an actor, and my son, I have 3 kids, 2 of whom are actors, and I was talking with my son yesterday, and we were talking about just that.
Yeah.
Because he did that role as a kid.
Really?
He did that role. My wife is a high school theater teacher.
Yeah.
And she did Midsummers, and he was acting as a kid. And
Oh,
I
that's
think he was
cool.
maybe 10 years old, 12 years old, something.
He did that at 10 years old.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was quite fun. And we were
That's
talking
cool.
about, he's like, how much fun would it be for me to get to do that?
Yeah.
Again, get to do that role
So
again.
he's acting now?
Yes, he's still.
He's doing it.
So yeah, he will be, by the time this airs, he will have closed, he's at rent at PCS.
Wow.
Right now, so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So-
great. Congratulations.
Yeah, well, we're proud of him and he's having a great time.
Yeah,
with
it should be. That's
So,
really neat.
okay, so the next question is,
Yeah.
do you remember the time and the place when you said, if in fact you said this, nah, I'm going to go, this isn't for me, I can't bear up with this or that or whatever, I'm going to go be something else.
Well, I mean, we can add up maybe about 2,000 times. That I said that.
Very good,
But,
very good, very good.
The time that it really hit was I met my wife in LA. We had a kid. We were living out in North Hollywood in a little house, and I had been there 20 years, and I was doing a lot. I was very fortunate, but it would just it had become a grind, and I thought, okay, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of auditions. Do I want to keep doing this in LA? Because I never liked LA. And she looked at me and said, we could get out. And I said, we could, couldn't we? And at the time, my survival job was I was a computer consultant.
Okay.
So I did acting and that, totally opposite parts of the brain, but it worked, paid the rent. And we said in 1998, let's just give it up. we'll move to Portland, where we had a lot of family at that time. We were coming up here all the time, and we moved up here. And I thought, okay, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be an actor anymore.
Because I'm not in LA.
But it's deep in your blood. So I got an agent anyway. I got Ryan Artis it was Cusick's agency, first agent. And they started sending me out. I thought, this is weird. And within like a couple of weeks, I booked a couple of jobs. And I thought, okay, I guess I can keep doing this.
There you go.
Okay, it's not gone yet. Sure. And then more came along, and more came along, and more, and I just kept doing it.
Right.
And then I started doing theater again, and just kept going.
Being an actor is, from where I sit, and I'm not an actor myself, is not a whole lot different than being a freelancer of any other breed. Whether you're a photographer, you're a graphic designer, you're an actor, anybody who is in the creative business and who is trying to make a living in a creative business, which can sometimes happen for actors, there is a grind element to it.
Oh, it is. It's the thing I talk about the most with my students.
Well, then that was a following question. How do you coach your students through the grind? How do you coach your students through those times when it's like, I don't have it to continue? And it's not that you don't love acting. No, it's not that I don't love photography. Yeah. But it's a daily business for me. Oh, yeah. And it's a daily business for anybody who wants to make a living as an artist.
A good way to frame this is, frequently actors will say, I'm thinking about doing it professionally, and do you think I should stay in Portland or should go to LA? I said, do you want to do it professionally? I mean, do you want this as a career? That's what you want to do. And they say, yes. I said, then go to LA. I said, but can't I just stay here? No. You want to do it professionally, you go to LA.
Okay. Why?
Because that's where the business is.
Okay.
And there is runaway business, they call it runaway business.
What does that mean?
It means productions that have moved out of LA and are shooting in places like Atlanta, Portland, Chicago, Louisiana, and it's more predominant now than it's ever been because it's cheaper. And
to shoot in Atlanta than it is in LA.
Oh yeah, it's cheaper. They're giving them huge tax incentives. Portland, Oregon, has the OPIF funds, which are the tax incentives they give, and based on that, companies are attracted here. But the predominant amount of the industry is LA. No matter what, you just can't deny that.
Well, if I understand correctly, the business, the money is in commercials. Is that accurate?
Well, it depends.
I guess let me.
You mean for the individual?
Well, let me reframe it like this. Yeah. It's my understanding that when it comes to commercials, they're not casting people from Portland to be in commercials in LA. It's like, I'm going to cast you today, you'll be there tomorrow. Yeah. And for actors who want to make a living of it, doing commercials is a critical part of the equation.
That was a big part of bread and butter for me in LA.
The bread and butter. Yeah. I have an agency friend, I have a agency contact in Seattle who wrote a long blog article. He said, listen, I know that industrial is not the most exciting thing in the world, but for guys like me, this is how I make my living. And if you go in and you kill it every time, and I can count on you to kill it every time, when the film and television roles come out, who am I going to want to pay back for that? Or who am I going to put the extra push for?
Well, no matter what, in LA, there is really a separate industry for commercials and the theatrical. Okay. Are really separate.
Define theatrical for people.
Theatrical, film and TV. Okay. And like agencies, you have a commercial agent in LA, or you have a theatrical agent. Some big agencies have everything combined. Up here, it's all together. because it's a smaller town, smaller film community, and everyone handles everything, which is fine. But down there, like I was with Abrams Artists, they're the biggest commercial agency just about in LA. But I wanted to get into theatrical with them. And I asked my agent, just refer me to them. I want to meet with them. He said, nah, I can't do that. And so I had separate agents all the time for that. It's a separate world, but the commercial world is bread and butter for actors.
It's bread and butter.
It pays the bills. And it networks you with tons of people in the industry. And it's all about networking.
Sure.
No matter what you do.
It pays it pays the bills for the actor, it pays the bills for the agent.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right. Which comes back to my acquaintance's commentary that, do well in industrial for me.
Yes.
And I have your back when it comes to the
Oh
other.
yeah. I mean, up here in particular, they thrive on that. Without commercials and industrials, they couldn't survive.
Right. You said you came here in Portland in 98?
98.
Yeah. Have you been coaching here the whole time?
I started coaching pretty much after I got up here. I had done a lot of directing in LA. Theater directing, not film.
Right.
And I helped start a theater down there. I always stayed in theater because I came from rep theater before that. And when I moved up here, someone called me up and said, hey, we heard about you, and would you like to teach at Young Musicians and Artists Camp, which is down at Willamette University.
Gotcha.
And I taught there for a few years, then started teaching at Northwest Children's Theater. This is all young stuff, Lakewood Theater, and then I love kids. I have a kid, but it got too much. And I said, okay, I'm moving to adults. And I started working primarily with that, and then I started teaching at the Art Institute of Portland in their film division, and I was teaching acting and directing and screenwriting for them, and it just kind of spread out, and I thought, why not teach privately? And that happened right after that, and it just snowballed.
So now 25 years into it almost. I love asking this question.
Yeah.
When I used to write about music, and I got to interview a lot of really great musicians, one of them being David Sanborn.
Oh, wow.
And one of the questions I had to him was, you've been doing this for 50 years at the time I met him. What makes you want to keep doing this after all this time? And he said, before I started playing the saxophone, I was a fan. After I started playing the saxophone, I was a fan, and I'm still a fan.
Yeah.
So I like to translate that question to you, 25 years into it.
Oh.
What makes you want to see half a dozen or a dozen new actors come in the door every few months or whatever the case may be?
It's fascinating to watch people. I talk a lot about this with anyone that asks about acting. With theater, there's a certain skill set you need to get on a stage and sustain a performance over a number of performances in a week, really continue that for sometimes weeks or months or years.
Sure.
And it's a skill set that's different because you have to fill a house, you have to project, you're using your body more. It's a whole different ball game than film, completely different. The basics are the same. That doesn't change, but the execution of it in film is radically different, and it demands a different mindset. And I have actors come into my class that have never acted before, ever, nothing, and blow me away on the first day.
Why? Why?
Because they can bring themselves to it.
I love that.
Because they are the character. And I always talk about that no film director wants an actor. They want the human being. They want to watch someone just come alive and be completely vulnerable and present in that moment. And it seems like they're completely unaware of anything else except that moment in time. And that is a gift. Theater actors come into my class with this preconceived idea of what acting is, and they push too much. They want to show you
I'm an actor.
I'm an actor. They want to show the emotion. It's not enough to feel it. They want to present it to you, and it kills it. It pulls you out of it. You're watching it, you're thinking, that's acting. And because of that, you don't feel as involved. You don't feel they're a human being.
Right. There's talking about stage acting. There seems to be my younger brother does sound in New York for Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, wow.
That's his.
Yeah.
For I don't know, 12 or 15 years now he's been doing it. So when I was in New York at one point, I got to meet the gentleman, the Phantom, and I was immediately curious about, okay, what's the reality? Because it looks real glamorous from out here.
Yeah.
What's the reality of doing this 6 days a week or 7 days a week or whatever it is he's doing for years and years and years?
Yeah.
And he said, you live a bit of a monk's life when you're in production.
Yeah.
He said, because I get up in the morning and I come here and I work and I go home and I sleep and I get up and I work.
Yeah.
You know, and I've known dancers who have done national tours.
Oh, it's grueling.
And I'm like, well, what do you do? And she's like, sleep, physical therapy.
Yeah.
You know,
take care of your voice.
I went to see Cats, and when it was at the Keller.
Yeah.
And my wife very graciously said, "There's not much of a story."
No.
and I came out of it like, well, that was a circus, but the athleticism of the people in that show,
stunning to watch them.
I was like, oh my, and it comes, and I just thought, well, that's the physical. That's the same thing that the Phantom was talking about that. Is that a part of the business that knocks people down and knocks them out of the game, do you think?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about Broadway and doing long runs in theater, I mean, it's grueling. It really is. I mean, I did some musical theater when I was in college, but most of my stuff is not musical theater. It's just straight theater. And long runs just knock it out of you because you're doing 6, 7, 8 shows a week, sometimes 2 a day. And if it's a highly emotional show where you're just knocking yourself out. I did a show for Artist Rep called Blue Orange, and it was just me on stage talking for over 2 hours. It was a 3-person show, 2 hours long. British psychologist analyzing this black guy who was kind of psychotic, and they weren't sure whether he had schizophrenia or not, and they were trying to analyze him. And all I did was talk. And the first day I got the script and was looking through it, highlighting my lines, and the highlighter ran out of ink at the end, and I almost burst into tears and was going to call and go, I can't do this. I cannot fit all those words in my head. Right. But I did the run, and sometimes there were 8 shows a week, and it's all you could think about, day in and day out. I was running lines 2 or 3 times a day just to keep it going and doing the show, and by the end of the run, I was exhausted. So I can't imagine what it's like to do a Broadway show where you're dancing and singing, you're doing all that stuff for a month, years on end. I would go nuts.
Yeah. How do you coach someone to be present from a perspective of an acting coach? Because if I'm understanding you correctly, being present is everything.
That's it.
Right? Like as a photographer, I'm taking your headshot. I can promise you that I'm going to point you in the same direction.
Right.
I'm going to set the camera the same. I'm going to use the same lens, the same settings.
Right.
I'll point you in the same direction. I'm going to due north, and then I'm going to adjust accordingly for the color of your shirt or whatever.
Yeah.
And when I'm done with that, then it's all about me being present. Right. And no one's ever coached me on that. I've just had to try to figure it out.
Yeah.
How do you, as an acting coach people to repeat that continually, especially if they're doing the same show over and over and over again?
Well, one of the first things I say is that don't be afraid to fail, because that's a big fear of everyone. when they get in front of a camera, in front of an audience.
And what does that
anything.
mean to fail?
It means making a fool of yourself. It means doing it wrong, whatever that means. And
It can mean practically like you forget a line, you drop a line, something like that.
or just judging everything you're doing.
Oh, okay,
Even-
okay.
I have an exercise that I do in my class at the beginning, which is very simple. I give them a simple little scene, and I have put them in front of a camera, and I have someone who's playing the other role in the scene. And these scenes are nothing. There's no character involved. They're written for scene study, short little sentences. And I give the off-camera person, direction, and the on-person camera doesn't know what it is. And I said, just do the scene. I'm going to shoot you. Just react to them normally like you would. How do they make you feel? There's no right or wrong to that. Reactions aren't wrong. They are. That's it. They just exist. And we don't think about the fact that, wow, I'm angry. How do I show how I'm angry? Should I lean forward? Should I furrow my brow? Should I get loud?
I'm thinking about the results rather than being the product.
Result acting is death. And so you just go with whatever happens. Naturally in life, that's what we do. We've been doing it since the day we were born, and we don't think about it.
Right.
But when the director says action,
right, then we're thinking about it, like, how do I look?
And you go in your head, and you're analyzing it, and you're saying, am I doing this right? Oh, the director didn't like it. Oh, the other actor is doing this weird thing. I didn't expect that. What happened? What do I do now? And it throws you out of the scene. You're not engaged with the other person. You're not interacting anymore. And scenes are not what one actor or the other actor is doing. It's the interaction between the two. It happens in between the two actors.
It's the space between.
Right, space between. And so what I do is I give them permission to not care, to not feel like there is a right way of doing it. I want to see what they bring to it on their own and accept it. And I call myself an actor cheerleader, especially at the beginning. You know, there's plenty of time to start correcting them and saying, try this, let's do that. Maybe you're doing too much or too little of this. But at the beginning, it's all, you're great, you're wonderful. I loved everything you were doing. It's terrific, just to give them permission. Because what's terrible for an actor is to feel judged. And every actor does.
Right.
Constantly.
Right.
For a good reason.
Because the audition process.
My God.
I mean,
there you go.
I mean, again, I'm not an actor, but I've watched enough auditions. I've seen my kids do enough auditions to know that that's all it is.
Oh, yeah.
To agree, that's what
and you are, in a sense, being judged. Of course you are.
Right.
But not in the way you think. Not
Right.
thinking, God, you're a really shitty actor. You know, oh God, wow. I get you off stage. No casting director, no director, no agent. No one's thinking that.
That's a story that has been told.
Yep. Right. And they think because they get rejected, they're rejecting them and their talent. And I tell all actors, you should, if you possibly can, sit in on an actor's callback session. For anything, for theater, for film, but especially for film or TV, and listen to the way they talk. And it will cure you of ever wanting to be an actor, or it will at least give you an idea of the amount of variables that come into play that you have no control over.
Exactly.
None, zero. Actors have zero control. The only control they have is the moment they're in front of the camera.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
And so if you could accept the fact that I can't control this, I'm giving you my best shot, this is it, this is how it should be done.
Right.
You're watching the scene. Turn on the camera, just bring it to the editor. You've got it, there you go. And if you're happy with it, and they say, well, you're too blonde, you're too tall, you're too short,
Exactly.
you're too fat, you're too thin, you're too whatever, that's out of your control.
Right.
But if you do a great job, there isn't a casting director or a director that won't remember you for that.
And you know, that's a lot of you know, when I'm taking headshots of someone, I'll say, okay, well, first of all, you look how you look, and you either fit the profile or you don't.
Yep.
They're asking for, you know, black men who are 50. They're asking for children who are 12. Whatever they're looking for, they already know what you look like because they asked for you.
Sure.
And there's nothing that we can do. There's nothing we're going to change about that. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't photographers who do. I just don't happen to be one of those guys.
Right.
You look how you look. So now, who are you? And how can we try to put? I don't need 55 frames of you being who you are. I only need one.
Yeah.
Of you genuinely being who you are.
Right. And in headshots, because all actors ask me about this, and they say, well, what makes a good headshot? And I said, something that shows who you are.
Right.
Something that shows personality.
Right.
You know, there's something there. It's not your high school headshot.
Right.
You know,
right.
where you just.
And universally, it's in the eyes.
Yeah, it's always in the eyes.
It's always in the eyes.
Always. That's
So,
it.
Yeah. So
Mirror to the soul.
Exactly. So it's always about, let's drop the ego.
Right.
Let's drop our fear. And the couple of words that came to me when you were talking about actors in practice, fearlessness and a sense of play seem to be good qualities to have.
Oh, absolutely. My God, that's a fearlessness, what you just said. That's it. The willingness to just dive off the deep end of the pool, and you don't even know if there's water in the pool. You're just going to friggin' do it. You're going to go for it. And my favorite saying
Well, that's a Darwinian way of acting.
Yeah,
You cut down on the number of people.
That would take you out immediately.
So you cut down on the amount of competition, but I was joking with you, but I get what you're driving
No,
at.
but I always say fail gloriously. If you're going to go down in flames doing it.
Was it Oscar Wilde who said, fail better?
Fail better. Yeah. Right?
I may be misquoting, it may not be Oscar Wilde. I think I heard it through an actor who quoted it as Oscar Wilde, but it's like, fail and fail better.
Right, and that's what you're doing all the time. Every time you do an audition, every time you do a scene, a take, when you're shooting something, even when you got the role, you're going to have good takes, you're going to have bad takes. You just don't let it get to you. You go in there with the frame of mind that I know what I'm doing. Right. I know what I want in this moment. I know where I am in it. And if you don't like it, give me a direction. You know, and I'll play around with that.
Gotcha.
I think it was Meryl Streep that said, someone said, God, you're so brilliant. Everything endless Academy Awards, nominations. How do you do it? She said, I try things, and if they don't work, I try something else. And that's it.
I have a photographer friend say, if you're taking the picture and it feels like it's not working, then it's probably not working.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you should probably try. You should probably try something different. So what are the misconceptions? New actors, up and coming actors, and I guess experienced actors too. What are the misconceptions that you have to overcome as an acting coach? Their misconceptions of what you are going to do for them, what you're going.
Oh, you mean as a coach?
Yeah, as a coach, what are the misconceptions that actors have when they start to get coached?
Well, they want the magic bullet.
Okay.
You know? They do.
And you don't have one of those?
No, I wish I did. No. I'll get occasionally a call from an actor, and the question is, so how long do you think I'll have to take class before I can actually get work?
How about forever?
Yeah, right. That's it. Forever. Because you're constantly changing. You're never ready. Mm-hmm. You're ready when you feel you're ready.
Right.
That's it. You go out there and do it. And the misconception is that somehow I'm going to fix you. I'm going to make you a great actor. That just takes time. Actors say, well, am I ready to audition? I said, no, you're never ready to audition. You just go out there, you do a few hundred of them, and you feel better after a while. You know?
You may never feel ready, but you'll just feel more comfortable. You
Yeah,
might feel
right.
like incrementally more comfortable.
And you're going to go up and down. It's going to be a roller coaster ride because sometimes you'll have great auditions, some terrible ones. You have great performances, great roles that you fit into, and ones where you just suck and you get a bad review, and it just, you get better every time because of that.
Is it a good idea for actors, and I'm not saying, because kind of, let me see if I can frame this, because this is off the cuff questions. Let me see if I can frame this the right way. As a photographer, when I was starting this out as a business, I didn't just do headshots. I did high school sports pictures, and I tried this and I tried this, and I was like, okay, team pictures are not for me, or this is not for me.
Yeah.
Is there a parallel to that in acting where you would say to somebody, yeah, go try Shakespeare, or go try, I mean, Shakespeare is a very broad thing, but is that a good idea for an up-and-coming, go try?
Oh, yeah.
Try
no,
something
I think it's great. I mean, the more you do, the more you experiment with it, the more you find out where your skill sets lie and what you feel comfortable with.
You also find out where your failings are.
Right.
You find out where your weaknesses are.
You're going to find that out big time.
Which is, I think at certain points, it almost has to be, when you get to a certain experience level, do you find that you really have to go looking for your weak spots? Does that make sense?
You should explore them. I teach at the Actors Conservatory in Portland, and we always talk about, when we talk about students, we get together and discuss them. What are the weaknesses that they have? What are the strengths? And the thing is, unfortunately, every actor has weak points. Every actor has strengths in certain areas that they should capitalize on.
All creative people do.
All creative people
have strengths and weaknesses.
Not everyone could do everything. I mean, I always wanted to. I wanted to be Laurence Olivier and be able to do anything. And I had limitations. Every actor does. But the more you stretch yourself by trying things you've never tried before, like improv, stand-up, musical theater, highly dramatic roles, things that stretch the limits for you. Unless you try them, you'll never know.
And I think the key there is to try those things in low risk, low investment situations where you can't lose.
Yeah.
Like, I will call in one of my favorite models and say, you know what? This is our mantra. Let's go make a mess. Let's just try this. I'm going to shoot with this camera and this lens, and it's going to be in this light, and you're going to wear these clothes, and we're just going to do this. It's playtime. It's mess time to see if we can do it.
Yeah.
And having somebody who's open and excited, going back to the playful and fearless.
Right.
That's what I want from you.
And some really cool stuff happens.
Really cool stuff. One of my all-time favorite shoots of the last 5 years was exactly that.
Yeah.
It was rock and roll clothes, and it was, a very short lens,
and
the light wasn't very good, and it was very blurry, and she's moving around, and we got Leonard Skinner down in the background just cranking it up, and to this day I look at those pictures and think, and it was fun.
Yeah.
It was so fun. So then, the challenge as a photographer is to be able to bring that sense of freedom and fun into the more serious, the paid work, the more serious work. How do you coach an actor to bring that fearlessness and that fun of something that has no risk? It's not the audition with Dustin Hoffman or whatever the case may be. It's not the one you really want. It's the one where you don't care about. Where's the bridge? What's the practice that bridges that?
You mean roles that...
So an actor can take that fearlessness and playfulness of something that has no risk at all. You cannot lose. You can go out and screw it up as badly as you possibly can. And then here's the one that matters.
Yeah.
Because it's the money, or it's the thing you always wanted, or it's the Dustin Hoffman, or it's the audition for this big project, or it's whatever. What's the practice that I do as an actor on the regular, on the daily, that makes me able to do it in both circumstances?
Well, I think number one, I think the most important thing, it doesn't make any difference if it's a role that you really want or not, because you're going to play a lot of things you don't really want.
Okay. Okay.
Especially when you're starting out. A lot of small little walk-ons, no-name roles. Cop 1, Cop 2, receptionist.
Cop 1,
you know,
receptionist 1.
yeah, right. And that's
Glamorous person 6.
Yeah, you always take a look at any famous actor. Look, scroll down through their IMDb and look at the bottom, and it's like waiter. In like, oh wow, De Niro, you were a waiter. And every actor has those.
Yeah.
And those are the most difficult things to do. But what that builds for you is a sense of learning about character, learning how to analyze a script, learning how to breathe life into nothing.
Right. Okay. I get you.
And the way you do that is through analysis and prep, and that's the hard work of it. Because especially in film and TV, there's no rehearsal, there's no director, you're handed the script, they send, you alone at home, you're figuring it out by yourself. And there's no one coaching you, there's no one saying, hey, this is how you would do it, this is what we're looking for. Mm-hmm. You've got to just bring it on your own. And if you can learn the basics in how to analyze that script, how to breathe life into it, even into something that there's hardly anything there, that's when you really start growing. Gotcha. And that's when even the bigger roles take on far more dimension and depth and nuance, because you learned those tools from being able to work with these tiny nothing things and craft them into something interesting.
Right.
And
so if I'm hearing you right, the fundamentals, I'm going to put this in terms of baseball. Yeah. You go out and you field ground balls every day.
Right.
And the reason why you field ground balls every day is so you can make that play so that you're free and fearless and confident.
Right.
So that when that guy does hit that ball, it's 117 miles an hour off the bat, and you have to
muscle memory.
That you're there and you can make that twisting.
Right.
So I think it sounds like it's essentially the same thing, that you're going to practice the fundamentals day in and day out.
Right.
And it's practicing those fundamentals day in and day out that gives you the muscle memory and the confidence to be free and to be playful.
Right.
And it doesn't matter whether it's Dustin Hoffman or glamorous person number 7.
And I guarantee you that any actor, no matter how famous they are, no matter how experienced, they all will say the same thing. I always feel like I'm starting over every time. Because
Beginner's Mind is the book, right? The famous Suzuki book from years back.
But they go back and they rely on those basic skill sets that they learned in class, in workshops, coaching sessions. Then they could draw on those tools that they use and play with them to explore more and get comfortable.
Right.
Yeah, and that's how they do it.
I guess it's the same thing in taking taking pictures. It's the light and the fundamentals are there.
Right.
The light is in the right direction and so on and so forth. So now I know that the picture's going to happen. So now let's find something for you.
And that's why actors are in class or a workshop all the time.
Right.
I was never out of it. When I had 20 years in LA, I was constantly in workshops and classes and coaching, and because I needed it. And when I got down there, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I came from 3 years at Berkeley Rep, and I thought, okay, I'm friggin' hot. I know what I'm doing. I've done tons of shows. I'm crushing. I'm gonna walk into LA and they're
gonna think, thank God you're here, Shelly.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for you.
Yeah, and then I got down there and realized, are there 160,000 other actors here?
Holy cow.
Are you kidding me? You always walk into an audition thinking, oh God, I got the audition. They want me, and you walk in and there are 30 other people there. Oh God. But I had to learn the art of film acting, and I didn't have a clue. It was scary, and it didn't make sense. And I thought, you want me to be me? No, I'm acting. Get it? This is
not me. It's pretend.
Yeah, let me do a dialect. Let me do some weird thing. Put a nose on my face. I don't want to be me.
Why else would I be doing this? If I wanted to be me, why would I be here?
Yeah, right. It was tough.
We had this conversation via email back during COVID. I was writing an article, and it was one of those, well, we're in COVID and we've got Netflix, so what are we going to do? with our time to help our craft while we can't go see anybody. It was about, what are we watching now? Do you remember that? Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah.
And I asked you, who should people be watching while we're in COVID and can't do anything to help them become better actors while we can't do anything? Well, I'm asking the same question now, though. Who's resonating with you? What Netflix show, what Hulu show, what actor is resonating with you today?
Wow, it goes through. Well, we binge watch a lot, as most people are doing now.
Sure.
And it's the typical thing, you kind of click around through 30 million different
options.
Streaming services that drive you crazy.
Yeah, my 17, let's say I'm paying $10 a month to 142 different people.
Right, yeah.
Who's got that? Who's figured that out, that scam? Way to go, guys.
Well, the two things that stand out for me that I watched that just blew me away were Inventing Anna, that TV series about the woman based on this real woman who was a con artist.
Oh yeah, who's the?
Oh God, I forgot the name of the
mind.
actress. Yeah, she was in Ozarks too. I forgot.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
and
yeah, she's brilliant, absolutely brilliant in that. And then Dope Sick with Michael Keaton. Oh, which is what a riveting show, and it just blew me away.
Okay. So those two are going to go on my list.
Oh, wow.
And the woman from Ozarks, I know who you're talking about. She is remarkable. And we're going to keep talking about her without knowing her name.
Right. Yeah. Well, I do that a lot. My wife and I go,
you know that
she's
guy.
got the blonde, she's short, she's got the eyes that kind of, and she did the thing with what's his name, where they were on the beach. Yeah, okay, I got it.
Right. Yeah. This is so. I feel like saying the one that rivets me is such old news, but it's Cillian Murphy. Peaky Blinders.
Oh yeah, brilliant show. Incredible acting.
Well, they brought out season 6, and my wife and I are getting ready to sit down with season 6, and we're like, okay, well, where do we leave off? And we realized that we hadn't remembered much of anything from seasons 4 and 5. So we're like, okay, let's go back to the end of 3 and try to figure out and she remembers things that I don't remember, and now we're like, oh my God, where are we supposed to be?
Right.
So we've actually watched seasons 4 and 5 to lead us back to season.
Right.
So it is now new, but it's still no less. It's just when you can go back there and see new things. Yeah. And he's brilliant. Helen McCrory is remarkable. And we actually crossed paths with the woman from the Queen's Gambit, Taylor. Yes.
Who
was also just fascinating to watch.
Oh God, Queen's Gambit was amazing.
In her presence.
Yeah.
So, if we're going to leave here, let's leave here with something to, because this is a transition period for actors, learning how to do self-tapes. Learning how not to be in the studio, or in the acting.
Yeah, big transition for everyone on that. Yeah. I mean, look, when I started, everything was hard copy pictures and resumes.
Sure. The stack on the table.
You had to physically drop them off, physically drive to pick up your sides, take them back.
Sure.
And so then everything started shifting, and now I just tell actors, be incredibly grateful for self-tape. It is the best thing that could ever happen to actors, because
that's a great perspective.
Oh yeah, look, you get to do your best audition alone at home with no pressure, and you can do 20 takes, and then pick the best one. The tough thing is
what's the best one.
Okay. That's it. But if you can get someone to work with you, or a coach or something, to look at it and go, that's the one, or work with you on taping it. Think of that. You are giving them your absolute best work.
Right.
And you don't have to go in there and do it under pressure.
Be in traffic.
And park and all the rest of that.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter now of adjusting to the fact that you are now the DP, lighting person, actor, director, everything.
Sure.
And you've got to learn that skill. And that's kind of scary for some actors to get frustrated, and you've also had to be an IT person. You have to know how to send the files, how to reduce the resolution so you can get the thing across so it's not massive.
Yeah, so it's not 800 gigabytes.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And
Right.
so all those things, once you have that down though, it's absolutely wonderful. And if you don't, pay someone that does to do it for you, or take a class and learn how to do it. Yeah. Because it is a gift for actors.
It's a good perspective. I don't think that people necessarily look at it that way. So
it should be. My God, you don't have to. Seriously, you don't have to.
You have to do all the things. Yeah, you don't have the pressure. I mean, above and beyond all the other things, you don't have the pressure of standing there.
It kills actors' performances in auditions. You see great actors who can't audition, and they get in the audition, they fall apart, and think, God, what happened? You were wonderful. I worked with you. What happened? And then you tape them separately alone, and they're wonderful.
Yeah.
Or they get cast in it, and they get on the set, and the first couple of takes, it's kind of, they're nervous, but they get to take 3 or 4, and the directors know this, and they go, no, you're loosening up. I'm getting in now.
Here we go.
Yeah. Right. So actors need to learn that skill.
It seems simple. It's just keep it simple.
Yeah.
I want to hear it. I want to hear you. I want to see you.
Right. It's not that complex at all.
I mean, my kids started acting when they were really young, long before COVID, and they had management and agencies outside of Portland. So the self-taping thing was nothing new to us. By the time COVID came along, we've been doing it for 8 years.
Yeah. Right.
So it was nothing new. And the fact is that the first film my son ever booked, and I want to remember, I don't know if they're going to watch this, they're going to be like, that story's wrong. But I know in the beginning, I mean, he was sitting at our piano in our living room and it was a phone. And we had some decent natural light.
Yeah.
And he just kind of did his thing. Yeah. And there it was. And it was simple.
Yeah.
There was no backdrop. There was no studio lighting. There was no, boom mics. There was nothing. It was just like, okay, roll it. And he did it, and there it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple lighting on it. Just want to see your face.
See your face. Got to be able to see you and hear you.
Decent lighting and simple, nondescript background, so it doesn't distract.
Right.
And don't look in the lens. Look off the lens.
Right. No music, no intros.
No, none of that. You don't need anything.
No post-production, color correction, all that.
Know where your eye line is, so you could always make the people watching it believe you see what you're actually talking to.
I find that, I think that's one, I don't see a lot of self-tapes necessarily, but one of the things when I'm dealing with models, not with actors per se, with models, like when you look off camera like you're looking at something, please.
Right.
Because they'll look off camera and they'll be like,
and
like you got nothing going on in your mind at all. I need you to have an eye line and I need you to believe.
Right.
Because I'm trying to tell a story. It's a different situation than headshots, but I need to believe that to tell the story, I need to believe that you're looking at something.
Right. It brings an intensity and something that really is engaging for the person looking at it. And they go, wow, that's a human being. And you're reacting. If you're looking at someone, you really know who you're talking to, you're reacting to them. And unfortunately, in a self-tape or anything, you're not really getting what you imagined. So it's all in your head. You're using your imagination. But if you could do that and engage, it's riveting to watch.
Yeah.
And that's what they want.
I really appreciate you coming and doing this.
A pleasure.
It's been super. Really I hope you will come back. I would like to.
I'd love to
do this on a regular basis and become up to date and so forth. So
good.
Thanks for coming by. I really appreciate it.
Good. Anytime.